Hey, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So I literally just read this comic, and I hopped on here to talk about it. So I don't know if my videos ever feel structured, but if this video seems less structured, that's why. I gotta talk about this book, man. I find it so interesting, and I just want to share it with you guys. So let's not even waste any time. Let's just get into it. Like the video if you enjoy. Today we are talking about Batman, the Gargoyle of Gotham, issue number 1. So right off the bat, this issue opens up with a very ugly and realistic look at Gotham and the people in it, and how disgusting and horrible and immoral everyone in the city can be. We get some narration from Batman about how this is what Gotham turns people into. We're seeing all these different things: abuse, homelessness, a very blatant look at the overwhelming majority of crime happening in the city, before jumping to this underground, what seems to be meth bunker, where, you know, it looks like people who have been kidnapped, human trafficked, are being forced to mix all these different drugs and chemicals together, obviously up to no good, to no fault of their own. And then for a brief moment we get a look at the man who may be behind it, some guy in the shadows drawing pictures, very gory scribbles while sitting in front of a projector watching something. Looks like some sort of weird sadist who we can't make out yet. But all of the bad things happening here aside, we realize that Batman is on the case already, moving through the tunnels, hiding in the shadows, about to take everything down, before we hear a blood-curdling scream. We get a flash of a kid beating a grown man to death. It looks like the masked thugs turn the corner trying to track down the screaming, you know, thinking that their captives were fighting back, but then they realize they weren't, and the one who caused all the screaming is still yet to be discovered. And then Batman takes them out too, very systematically, very swiftly, and very brutally too. You can see a lot of blood being drawn, clearly intentionally so too. One of the thugs escapes and runs to this boss in the shadows, lets him know what's going on, and then we look at this creepy guy who just starts crying, just tears running down his face. He's this all black figure. You can't really make out if he actually looks like that or if it's still just him being in the shadows, but either way he looks horrifying. And I just want to say, like, looking at this Batman, you'll very slowly start to realize that this is a very different look at Batman than we're used to getting in the comics. Seeing this brutal version of the character kind of reminded me of Zack Snyder, but he's really not to that level. But I would say that he is pretty brutal. He's got a very unique but familiar design. You know, to me, he comes off as a weird mixture of Scott Snyder's Batman from the New 52 and Frank Miller's Batman, if it was set during year 1, which is really interesting. Batman then makes his way into the projector room where the boss is, and we get a look at this cartoon that he's been watching, so that tape that he's been sitting in front of watching while drawing these really disgusting gory pictures. And you can see this character on the screen there is crying just like he was, so you're automatically like, what is going on? What is this guy's deal? We get a better look at him. He's got a bloody hammer, bloody hands, tears still down his face, and he warns Batman not to touch his drawings, saying, "Don't touch my thoughts. You don't want to know how much my thoughts hurt." Before swinging at him, they go at it. Bruce gets absolutely just mollywopped by this hammer, blood everywhere. This really graphic panel, blood squirting out of his mouth from how hard he was hit. And really, he's just like, Batman is taking a beating in this one. This guy, whoever this guy is, came in full force swinging, and then eventually the fight goes black, and we get this little gray look, like this gray tone panel of, you know, a gargoyle during a thunderstorm in the night sky. We can see some narration from what I assume to be young Bruce Wayne. He's like calling out to his mother, saying that Batman, like it's a different identity or something. Bruce wakes up on the floor, bloodied and injured. This weird, creepy villain is gone. He has no idea how long he's been out, but suddenly he hears a ticking sound like a bomb's about to go off, until he realizes it is. And it does. This big lab just blown to pieces. This villain just killing everybody inside with no remorse, no care in the world. Or maybe he did feel remorse, I don't know. We then get a look at this Jim Gordon, who, you know, very obviously on the younger side, so even further proving that this is more year 1, more early days Batman. He's looking at this case that he's been called into with the homicide victim. Apparently Gotham has a very big serial killer that they've been trying to catch but can't, leaving his victims naked and bloodied on the floor with multiple stabbings into their back. We get some insight into how the cops feel about Batman at this point in time. Jim is okay working with him and likes to bring him on to consult, but obviously the rest of the police force does not approve. Jump to a new character by the name of Nia, who's a very outspoken social activist, talking about how the rich are basically ruining life for everybody else because of their greed. Homeless people are going missing with no explanation, and no one's really looking into it. You know, obviously now we know that they were being taken and kidnapped, you know, to work in the lab for that villain, but obviously the general public doesn't know that. Everybody's listening to her. It seems like she's a social media manager, and she posted this video from the accounts that she's managing for these rich companies that she's working for. She's being basically told by her boss to apologize and essentially just retract her statement, so she quits, sticks to her beliefs. We then jump to the Batcave with Batman and Alfred. There's a lot that they talk about here, you know, developing a equipment and armor and how effective it is, but the main thing that I want to highlight here is that Bruce is basically planning for an event where he can fake his own death so that he can be Batman full-time. So we're really looking at like a Matt Murdock, Daredevil season 3 type thing, where it's like, I would rather die as the devil than live as Matt Murdock, which is pretty interesting in my opinion. You know, there's been a debate among Batman fans about whether or not Bruce Wayne is the mask and Batman is the real, you know, identity, the real person. A lot of Batman fans from the general audience kind of have embraced that idea, and a lot of hardcore comic reading Batman fans have rejected that idea. Me personally, I don't really think that Bruce Wayne is the mask either, but I do like the idea. I'm not opposed to the exploration of that idea, and that's kind of why I like this story so much. It's very clearly like an alternate retelling, so it works, and it's just kind of playing with that idea of what if Bruce was so deep into his own grief that he was arrogant, he was kind of cold and heartless, and was really only concerned with vengeance. Batman then meets up with Jim to talk about the newest victim of this serial killer, and they find that this victim has been killed with a weapon that they've never seen before, something so thin and so sharp that it's able to basically paralyze the victim by piercing the vertebrae so that they can't move and are basically able to remain conscious while they're being killed. So like the sick, twisted serial killer is basically forcing his victims to be witnesses to their own murder. And then Jim tells him that they still haven't found much else beyond that, but they did find that a murder case from over 30 years ago had a lot of mysterious similarities to this case right now, saying that the injuries that this new victim has are the exact same that this victim from 30 years ago had. So they think there might be like a connection with a 30-year gap in between. Jim says that he managed to track down the victim from 30 years ago, his cellmate, so that maybe he can get some information. In a very quick scene, we see that our villain from the beginning still out murdering people, still kidnapping them, and then crying before he kills them. So still at large, still killing people, still very active. We then head over to Arkham with Jim to investigate this murder by talking to the victim's cellmate, and basically gets absolutely no information out of him other than he was visited by a boy that seemed to be very interested in him, and that's it. That's all he gives him before he gets up and walks away. We then catch up with Bruce again as he's trying to track down our crying villain, basically talking on the comms to Alfred, who is essentially just trying to get him to ditch this whole idea of killing Bruce Wayne by like giving him cake with notes that say, "Here you go, Bruce," and stuff like that. So just trying to get him out of his own mindset, bring him back to humanity. So it's really cool. We're seeing a very cold version of Batman, but it's nice to see that we still have the same sarcasm and light from Alfred. Bruce then tracks our villain down to this mysterious dark warehouse. It's abandoned, it's empty, super creepy, before he's suddenly attacked from behind with an anvil, like something straight out of a cartoon. And then obviously we see that it is our guy, knocked Batman out yet again before taking out a roll of film for the cartoon that he was watching earlier with the crying character. So clearly there's a very obvious connection here. He's relating to this cartoon for whatever reason. So once again, Batman wakes up, not sure how long he's been gone, but luckily this time he's able to catch up. He races after him. He's in a stolen pickup truck. Finally, he catches him this time by getting the roll of film before he does. He takes a hostage as like leverage to escape, but Batman doesn't let it happen. He starts to burn the tape, and that's enough. That is enough to get this villain to stand down, put the gun down, let the hostage go, turn himself in. So I'm really curious what this guy's deal is, why he relates to this cartoon so much, why he cries every time he's about to kill someone. It's so creepy, and I love it. But that's basically it for that issue. All of this was done, drawn, and written by Raphael Grandpa. I just wanted to give kudos, give credit. Amazing work for such a highly detailed and super unique miniseries. You know, for all of that to be handled by one guy, really cool. I love this alternate vision for such a different Gotham, such a different Batman, this unique take and blend of all these different iterations that we've seen before to form a narrative that's ultimately pretty new. And I'm really curious to see where it's gonna go from here. Let me know your thoughts. What do you think about this story? Do you want me to continue covering it? Let me know in the comments down below. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed, and as always, subscribe if you haven't already. But yeah, that is it for this video, and until next time, I will see you later. Thanks for watching.